thank you so much for being here, all of you. We would love to understand from all three of you different sectors, geographies, spaces that you're working with. What has been the hardest leadership lesson in building or backing great teams? Something you only understood later in your journey.
So I think definitely it's on delegation. I guess that is the thing that you learn after you made a couple of mistakes, and then you realize, oh, okay, I could have done a better job of this. Especially when you have a great team, right? If you are to let go and to know that, okay, this is a job that somebody else can be doing. I'm hiring good people because they can do this work for me. It's no longer my burden, that kind of thing. So I guess that's mainly the very good skill to learn earlier.
What about you, Claire?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think one of the takeaways that I've come away with is I think it's fairly rare that a successful organization is just built on technical excellence. I think a leadership trait is really to be able to align with your team on values and mission and really have that clarity of purpose. Because I think that really allows you to communicate your priorities and measure your success.
So great point, Claire. I think a lot of folks do, culture has to be set on very early on. Coming to you, Teena, you're coming from a very huge corporate culture. A lot of processes are already in place. So how do you kind of see this?
Yeah, so I have two that I want to talk about. One is from my experience and the other is what I've seen in startups. So from my experience, making hard calls in your business is something that we need to do and do it on time. The other is what I've seen at startups. So my basic thing is that you need to have diverse team, right? So people from diverse backgrounds, people from diverse genders, people from, diverse age brackets, so that you can have the complete width of experience sitting with you.
What advice would you give founders navigating global expansion?
In some markets, you're solving for cost. Some markets, you're solving for quality. And I think that's very important for founders to know what the market is looking for and build for that. Know what your market is. When you look, especially when you're expanding to new markets, don't just assume that I've been doing this well, therefore I can just sell it to different markets.
Claire and Teena, would you like to add anything?
I think, so my background is in ESG and Impact, so I'll take it from that sort of angle. So when you're thinking about, global expansion, I think ESG is really something that should be on your radar, especially with, the rise of, mandatory sustainability reporting and CSR. I think really you can't start thinking about it too early. And I think even if it's, not global expansion, but via, thinking about IPO and IPO readiness, I think it'll save a lot of cost and time if you're aware of and sort of building a team that can handle the requirements later on.
So global expansion, my perspective, two things again. So first is have your core ready, right? So the core operations, your core product, let it be a little bit stable. Because when you go global, when you go outside of your comfort zone, the chaos is going to be huge. And if your operations are not in place, the chaos is going to just totally derail whatever you have built. And as a startup, as a small organization, you don't have the wherewithal and the might behind you to be able to manage that kind of chaos. So it's best to have your basics in place. So that's one. And the other is don't do what's trendy. Don't do global expansion because, everyone is going there. Go where there is a pull. So finding your audience is very, very important, and finding the pull before you go is also very important.
Claire, I'll come back to your question. A lot of people like to understand sometimes they just look at ESG as compliance, right? But if you could weigh in on how founders can translate ESG into tangible business value.
ESG has the perception of just being a compliance exercise, right? Like checking the boxes and making sure you have X, Y, and Z policies in place. And certainly that's part of it. But I think there really is a lot of opportunity for ESG to add value to your business. And I think there's so many angles that comes in. I think, in terms of cost savings, right? If you think about employee turnover, engaging your workforce and building a diverse team to help bolster retention is not only a social good, but can really help reduce the cost of turnover. So I think those are, a couple examples of how ESG can really have an impact on business. And I think, and of course, there's the whole risk management element too, right? I think there's a lot of reputational risk that comes out of not having a mature approach to ESG. I guess a couple of tools and frameworks that are very readily accessible. One I would call out is the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board. And I think that's a really helpful place to start to look at what's most material and what's most relevant to your business. ESG VC is another resource that I think is quite helpful to startups. They've done a really great job, I think, of building out ready-made tools and also sort of roadmaps that can guide startups sort of from the pre-seed through Series C. So you can kind of take a look at, okay, what should I be focused on at this particular stage, and what should I look forward to in the future? So I think, maybe those tools could be a good place to start.
Thank you. Sheeba, I'll move on to you because, ESG, while we're on the topic of startups and fundraise, I think 2 questions for you. And what advice would you give founders in this room preparing for the next fundraise in the current environment that we're in? And secondly, from a perspective of investor, how do you evaluate long-term resilience in a business beyond the top line growth?
Okay. So starting with the first one, I guess, especially in this market, I think there's a lot more focus also on capital efficiency, right? So usually when we are looking at investing in a company, we are trying to see how much have they achieved with the money that they were given, especially from the last round, right? So if you're planning to raise funding in some time, you have to make sure that you have achieved certain milestones to can prove that you can use this money well. I think that's something that people should have in their mind. As soon as you raise money, you should keep in mind that I have to achieve X, Y, Z by then. And that's one on, in terms of just business milestones. The other one is team readiness, right? Do you have all the right people internally for the stage you're at? Because that is, I think, another thing which gets a little missed out that when you're, especially for founders, because for investors, we're looking at the same stage continuously, but founders are going through the different stages, right? So every stage will be different for you, the kind of team you're working with, the kind of work you're doing, the scale, all of that will keep changing. So I think that's something that you need to send those signals that we are ready for the next stage when you're raising the next round. So I guess this is something which has gotten tested a lot in the last few years, right? There's just been so much chaos. So, and I think most of us saw that, when the lockdown happened, digital-only companies suffered, right? So the ones which have omni-channel had a huge advantage at that point, just because they had something, the other way around. Digital-only companies worked really well, physical-only companies suffered. So I think that is, it could have worked the other way around as well. And now, for instance, with the current, the whole geopolitical situation, also we have seen a lot of companies which had exposure to one particular country suffer because there's something happening in that one country, right? So I think in general, this is a basic law of risk mitigation, right? You need to have diversification. So I would say as soon as possible, trying to make sure you have you're looking at multiple customers, multiple geographies, multiple industries, so that you're not suddenly hit by something that impacts your customer, whereas you're still a good product. That is on business model-wise. But in terms of team resilience itself, it's something internal. There can be a lot of issues that come in internally, not just the market changing. And I think there the resilience is really on how the founders see their role, right? Where how well they can adapt to changing realities. What if somebody is, and again, investors are constantly evaluating the risks in the business, and one big risk is, what will this team continue? Will there be issues within this team? Can they scale? And I think those are things that it's more about the fortitude of the founder itself. How strong you are mentally will translate into the kind of team you build, and how strong the team is as well.
Thanks. Those are very, very important points, and I think it's good to have the investor side of the perspective. So, still staying around that topic, Claire, what are the signals that you look for in founders and companies that make you believe that they can scale globally?
I think, as I kind of alluded to earlier, I think on the clarity of purpose side, that's certainly one, being very well aligned on business purpose and mission. But I'd say also strong internal governance, I think really signals a mature team, and whether that's, discussing, regularly discussing the right topics at the board level or at the leadership level, whether that's internal or independent audits, having those kind of strong governance controls, I think signal readiness, right, for expansion.
Moving on to the other hot topic, Teena, AI. Everybody's talking about it. We just can't have enough talking about AI tools. Anytime you open social media, you're flooded with everything to do with AI. And so I think, and a lot of our audience also, when we asked them what would they want to discuss, one of the topics that came up was AI. And that's why we thought we'd reach out to you, because, Google's seeing a lot of work being done. And it was good to have you and Wayne, your perspective. And I think one of the things that we were discussing earlier, we are seeing that how can startups with limited resources begin integrating AI meaningfully? And then again, the flip side is what are the mistakes you see companies make when they try to force fit AI into the model, right? So both sides, if you could weigh in that.
All right. So one of the things that I have seen is that, and I'm talking about 12 months back, in 12 months itself, AI has seen a huge tectonic shift, right? So the whole thing about build versus buy. So, as a startup, please don't try and build. So that's one mistake you should not do. How can you meaningfully use AI? There are so many things that you can do with AI today, and I'll come to the use cases maybe later. I don't know if people want me to talk about the use cases, but ensure that, you are using it for scale. If you're an India business, right? So scale, cost efficiency. Those are the two big ones. Language diversity, right? That's such a hard one for us to solve pre-AI era, right? Use these. Don't try to create custom AI. Don't try and build your own models. Somebody has already put the investment. Somebody has already put the infrastructure for that. Leverage it, because one, it'll take you to the next step much faster, and it'll ensure that you will not repeat the mistakes that some other folks have already done. So you can just leverage it and you can move very fast. Meaningfully, how you can do it, don't try and solve a tech problem. It is invariably, I have seen, there's a team sitting in front of us and they will say, this is what I want to do with AI. No, what is your business problem? Do you know what you're trying to solve with AI? Because once you know the business problem, then there are many ways in which you can solve it, and AI will be at the heart of it. AI will be native to whatever method you will try and find to solve your problem. So that's one part of the question. And when you try and force fit,
yes,
meaningfully, how else can you use it? I have seen, and personally, I really like this. And because you're a small organization, you would probably not have too many feet on ground. I feel using it for lead qualification and using it for reaching your right audience are the best ways to use AI. And in that, so obviously your deal cycle reduces. So the minute your leads are getting qualified by AI, any opportunity that was taking you 30 days to close will probably now take 10 days. And I've actually seen this happen, right? So because you're removing a lot of the intermediary points and you're creating it much faster, right? So that's one thing where I feel it's great. Obviously, everyone knows this, content creation, right? Marketing, your ads can be, your content can be real, very, very real time. It can be relevant to the market that you're trying to focus on. It can be language specific. So I feel doing these two and starting with that is a great way to start. And obviously there are many, many tech methods that you can use. If you are a tech organization, then use it for code deployment, right? Use it for ensuring that, you have the best, you're reducing your process timelines, right? So if there are 4 steps, see if AI can remove 2 of those process steps, right? So that it's much faster for you.
Great. So we'll stay on the topic of AI, and I'll add some more questions there. Number one is, how do you upskill your teams? I think that's the other big question everyone's asking, right? This is taken over. Some people are very quick with it.
Yeah.
Some teams have to be upskilled. So how do you suggest founders do that with their teams? How do they upskill
Yeah. So AI is also a generational thing. The younger folks tend to take to AI much, much faster. What folks at my level, take much longer. And I'll address that part first. So, we wanted our level folks to learn AI much faster, right? So we put a challenge out there. We put a 30-day challenge. And we said, everyone has to come up with one AI tool for some process in your business. So you have to remove that and you have to use an AI product for that, right? Or you have to use an AI tool for that. And there are existing ones, you can use it, you can create it, you can do that. And you will be astonished how we ran on it. But it really got folks onto the bandwagon of AI, and simple ideas. It was not very complex things we were doing. Meeting notes, recording things, summarizing things, very simple things we put together, but it led to a huge impact where people started actually using Gemini. Now that is how you can also use these tips and tricks. I personally feel learning in a classroom is not the best way to learn AI. I was never a good school student, so I personally feel hands-on is much better. And there are so many free tools that are available, right? So please go ahead, use them, and you can enable your teams. The second is ensuring that you are participating right now, like this forum is there, right? Now, I'm sure I am going to learn. I learned so much from Claire, just talking to her for 5 minutes. I didn't know so much about, how this world of funding, etc. works. So please ensure that you are attending sessions. And I'll tell you about Google because, we have AI school for startups. So we provide you with tools. We provide startups, early startups, with not just tools. We will enable your teams. We will provide you with sales acumen. We will bring our engineering teams and ensure that, you guys can come to our office, sit in a place, and we bring our engineering team there. So that, if you are getting stuck at some basic thing, our teams will quickly solve for it and, get it going. So that's something that you can leverage. There is AI school we have where we have, free material that's available where you can go and learn the basics of AI. So all of us also use it. So internal to Google also, we use the same material. It's available for anybody to go in and use it. So there's a lot of free stuff that's available. You don't have to spend too much money. Also encourage your teams to create pilots, create small POCs, learn fast, fail fast, move on fast, right? So that's the best way to go on the AI ship because AI will change very fast. And if you haven't learned step 1, going to step 4 will be very, very hard. So just stick with it. It's changing very, very fast. Every 3 months, something new comes up and, you're like, we just told our customers something else. Now you're telling me to tell something else. But that's how this would be.
So now let me take a pause from, different sectors and this, but come back to a question that Sheeba and I were discussing. So Sheeba, women juggle with multiple expectations and there's an uneven playing field and you had a viewpoint on that and love it if you could share it with everyone.
So I guess the question was about lots of different expectations, right? So, and I guess the simple point that I wanted to just say is that, of course, there are a lot of demands, say, at home, and there's a lot of demands at work. And usually the key point is, when, especially around, like, say, maternity, and when you're already in a very high demanding career, and now, you have to take care of this little person at home as well, like all of that. And I think one thing which doesn't get talked enough is that you need to have that support system built before this, right? You need to really invest on how are you going to have more hands, kids, working on this.
It takes a village.
It takes a village, yes. So, and the same thing with organizations, with building a company and all of that, right? And then harking back to the earlier point about building great teams. So if you just feel overwhelmed, there's a chance that you haven't hired the right people, you haven't hired enough people, you are not leaning on your contacts, it's not only about hiring, it's also about leaning on your networks. So, and I think this is something that women should spend some time thinking about because it is true, you will have more demands and I think you need to spend more time planning on how you would meet those demands. I think that was a point I was trying to think to the simple point, but I think people don't talk about it enough. So just wanted to give another reminder, I guess.
Thank you. That was super useful. Next, moving on to leadership, right? We're all navigating our different paths. There are goals and dreams that each one of us have set up for ourselves. And I'm sure, you also had a perception of leadership. How do you want to build myself? I think that's a question all of us at some point in time ask. And it'll be interesting to understand from you as leaders, what have you seen people do or work towards building themselves as great leaders, whether it's coming to leading teams, making hard decisions, right? And founders are doing that every day. You wake up every day and there's some or the other challenge waiting for you to tackle. And Teena, not just from Google, but I think you've had multiple perspectives as well. So, you're early in your career, but what are you seeing some people do that you think are really, really great traits? If all three of you could share your perspectives there.
I would say that the one thing that I did which really helped me was take risk. I have taken so many risks. I have been technology consultant. I have led practices, created them from scratch. I have done operations. I have also done strategy, led strategy for GTM. I have done one of the largest acquisitions that one of my previous organizations had done, put the plan together for that, presented it to Rishad Premji. That was one of my dream things that I did. So yeah, I mean, take risk, raise your hand as often as you can, but you're a startup guy, so you've already done it, and be bold about it. So I think all the leaders that I know are extremely bold. They're trusting of the people that they bring on board, right? So they ensure that they build the right team. So taking risk, being bold, and trusting people that you have with you, I think would be the main thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think parts of this have been said earlier in the discussion, but I think building, having a leadership team and a culture of inclusivity, I think is really important for building diverse teams that are well equipped to handle the diverse challenges that come with scaling up and running a business. And I think there's so much data to back this up now, which is great. And there's more coming out every day. That gender balanced teams are, can outperform non-gender balanced teams. And I think this comes in at a variety of angles, right? But one is, I think there was just to nerd out a little bit, an ISD study recently that looked at private equity and venture capital managers in emerging markets and also the underlying portfolio companies. And it showed that gender balanced teams have higher step-up valuations than non-gender balanced teams. And another study showing that higher percentages of women in leadership results in lower workforce turnover. And so I think these are just tangible examples of the fact that, inclusive cultures lead to more resilient and, can also help with the, improved performance. So I think, that's what I would say.
Cool, thanks. Sheeba?
So here investing in our industry, of course, it's a very people-centric job, right? So what I'm saying may differ across different industries and what you're doing, but when the kind of people, the team that you're working with matters a lot because it's entirely based on the work that they are doing. I think it's very important to have the trust and the respect. I would say the respect of the team matters a lot. And I think that is something that leaders can build by showing it, by being very just. One thing, showing that, whatever you do, you're being very fair with people. You're not, you're not letting your own personal biases impact them, right? That is one thing I think a lot of leaders need to work on. And the other thing is to show that you're not afraid to do the hard jobs, right? To go back to what Teena was saying, is that suppose you need to let someone go. And if you are, you just don't want to do this, so you're putting it off, that sends quite a bad signal to the rest of the team, right? Saying that, okay, this is someone who's not really made to be a leader. That's a signal you're sending out. So I think things like that, right? Don't, I guess, this is the job. You have to know that when you're a leader, you have to do the tough jobs as well. So get used to it, I guess. That's the thing that, see how you can do these things better and do it fairly and in a way that will get you the respect of your team. But do not shirk the hard jobs is what I would say. Just be known for that, saying that this is someone who will do what is right and at the time it is needed to be done. Yeah.
If you had to leave this room with one challenge for the founders, CXOs here, what would it be?
Okay, so one thing I think I do want to mention is, and this has come up quite often that, women are quite bad at building their own brand. They're not, very, like, if you talk about...
I see quite a few of you smiling.
And I know the reason for this also is, because this is a problem I've struggled with also. It is a little difficult to go out there and say, this is who I am, because you're scared of someone attacking that kind of, personality as well. But keep in mind that if you don't define your brand, somebody else will do it for you. So that is something that you cannot shirk away from. So I guess the challenge I would like to place is think about what you want to be known for. What is the the brand, the essence that you want to project, and create a plan for that. Like, how will you do that? How will you make sure people know you for this and not for something else, that that they are projecting their impressions on you.
Thank you, Sheeba, for that. I'm so excited. As a marketer, I just keep telling that to people, especially women, friends, colleagues, everyone, and just nice to have someone else validating that.
Yeah,
That's very wise. I would just sort of come at this from an ESG point of view, and I think honestly it goes back to the question you asked earlier, which is I would encourage you to not just look at ESG from a compliance perspective, but really see how it can help your business, because there's, I think, a lot of sort of not always low-hanging fruit, but some actions that can be feasibly undertaken even at early stages that can really add value to your business, not just now, right, but later down the line when it becomes more critical or more expected of your company. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Teena.
Okay, so for me, I would say that build durable businesses and not for valuations. I think that would be play the long-term game. My take is that, that's what people should do now. And a question to ask ourselves would be, if the capital were to disappear, would I still build this business? I think that would be the challenge.
That's a good question.
Sitting in this room saying that.
Okay, thank you, ladies. That was a wonderful discussion, and thank you for making time.